How do you build a team that gets things done? Welcome to part 2 of Jevon's interview. We've done role plays before on our podcast. We'd love to role play with you if you're open to it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do it.
So I'm happy to be the employee. I'll be your employee, Jevon. I'll push back a little bit, but um, let's imagine you're the business owner. You're the one that hired me to help you on a podcast. You helped me to build a podcast and run a podcast and co-host a podcast. And you brought me on because I've done good work in the past, and I started off doing okay, but now we're about 6 months in, and now I'm struggling. Now I'm late. I'm not hitting my goals. I'm just resistant. I'm very clearly overwhelmed with everything going on, and I'm just more resistant to everything moving forward, and I'm kind of just disengaged.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Let's do it.
So I'd love to hear how you, as the boss, how you're going to approach this conversation with me to get me back on track.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, as I get into the words, is it all right if I just share a little bit of just some perspective?
Sure,
As,
please.
per-
Yeah,
so
talk about
one,
yeah.
yeah. So one of the things, again, I know I mentioned this earlier, but that helps with these kind of conversations is if you've already set expectations early in the relationship, that you're going to hold them accountable and that you're going to bring things up when there is a problem, and letting them know that this is not always a top down. It's, hey, I also want you to bring problems to my attention. And I bring that up early and often with people that I'm coaching or leading in a team of any kind. Very early on in our relationship, I'll let them know, hey, listen, you're on the team because I believe in you. Here's where we're going as an organization. Here's the values. I really feel you fit the culture. And I think together we're going to do some great work. And I believe you're going to grow in this environment. I'm going to grow. I will make mistakes. And you're going to make mistakes too. That's okay. But we need to be able to talk about these things when they come up, so that way we can grow together. Because what I don't want is you feel friction and you feel tension. I feel friction and there's performance issues and we're not talking about it. That's not good for you. It's not good for me. So at
Yeah.
some point, it's going to happen. It's not when, it's not if, excuse me, it's not if, it's when. So when
Mhm.
these things come up, either way, I want you to talk to me about it. And I also want you to know that I will address it with you personally, when these performance issues do come up, 'cause it's inevitable. So if I've shared that early, where I've created that culture of candor, I've created a space that they're going to make mistakes, that then helps lead into then any conversation that I've had.
Mhm.
So that's I would say the first kind of almost role play, if you will, before the
Yeah.
role play, right?
Yep.
Is kind of what I would be sharing with you. But now let's say what you said is true. So now we're diving in. So let's go. So Chris, how are you? It's good to get a chance to connect a little bit in our one on one.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm really excited to share some things with you that will probably be a little bit difficult to hear at first, and difficult for me to share because we've built a good relationship. But I'm sharing these things with you because ultimately I want you to succeed in your role here. And in the past, what I've seen from you is you deliver great work. You were open minded. You seemed very much open to winning. Well, what I saw in the last couple of weeks is there were multiple conversations that you and I have had where I felt like you were a little resistant to some of the ideas and a little more disengaged. Specifically on Tuesday, there were three or four different ideas that I actually had shared with you. And you just kind of dismissed them. You didn't share why, you didn't share some of your own ideas. And so I really just want to check in on you. It's okay that it happened, but my concern is that maybe there's something going on. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed. I don't know. But I just want to check in and just kind of see how you're doing, because my concern is if things continue this way, it may actually cause some friction, and ultimately it may hurt the quality of the podcast and to our viewers and our listeners. And I want to make sure that you're successful. Any insights you might be able to share just on what you're going through?
Um. Yeah. I mean, listen. You said you value honesty, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna give it to you straight. It's just a lot. It's just a
Okay.
lot. All right. You know, I want to do a good job. It's just you keep throwing stuff at me, and like it's hard to even know what's a priority, what I
Mm,
need to do first, because everything seems like the way you send me stuff, it's like I need this done, I need this done, I need that done, I need this done. All while holding up kind of my ongoing stuff and getting this podcast up and rolling and moving. And um, yeah, I don't know. Like it's just too much for one person, right? Like
yeah.
I'm not trying to do this stuff while I'm at home. I'm not trying to like do this in my off time or the weekends. So I don't know. It's just truthfully, you're just throwing a lot at me.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I did not realize that you felt that way. Can I ask, I'm just going to ask a follow-up question because I want to make sure I'm understanding,
Yeah,
what your root concern is. Cause it's from what I'm hearing you say, we've been moving pretty quickly and it's
yeah,
been a lot for you to be able to process and handle your current workload in addition to, what I'm asking of you as well. And it's maybe you're feeling a little extra pressure directly from me, based on how I'm giving you the work and the pace at which we're moving. Is that a fair kind of assessment summary for how you're feeling right now?
yeah, yeah. I think so. I mean, yeah, I get that you've always said like you're okay with mistakes. You're not stressed about that, but um yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem, on a day-to-day basis. Like I know that's what you're saying to me, but on a day-to-day basis, I don't feel that. I feel like I
Okay.
have to get it right.
Okay.
And you have these high expectations, like I got to get it right or else, essentially.
Okay. Is there anything else that you haven't shared yet that's concerning that maybe is underneath that? Because I know for me, sometimes maybe the first thing that we're sharing isn't always the full picture. But if there may be other things that you're uncomfortable sharing, the whole purpose of this conversation is that we can get everything out there and we can move forward with confidence. And I want to build a better relationship together so we can perform together, at the highest level. So we can talk then about how we can move forward. But is there anything
Okay.
else that is on your mind that you haven't shared yet?
I mean, at the end of the day, like I came on because I love what you wanted to do with the podcast. I love the idea of a podcast. I'm a big podcast guy myself. So I thought I'd be focusing on that. And then I'm just focusing on now you got me doing all these other tasks. And I know maybe it's just the how life goes, right? Other duties is assigned by your manager, but I don't know. I thought I'd be doing more work on the actual podcast and recording and doing that stuff and not all this other
Okay.
miscellaneous stuff.
Well, I tell you what, why don't I want to do a couple things and you let me know if you're okay with this. Let's schedule another conversation because I don't think it makes sense to have it right now where we can talk about the operations, right? We can really game plan, talk through your workload, talk through what you've got on your plate. And we can figure that out. I'm really confident in that. You've been showing, early on signs that you want to learn, you want to grow. It just sounds like the pace at
Yeah.
which we're doing things is difficult. Let me ask this of you though for how we work together moving forward, right? It's really important to me and I think to you as well. We build a great relationship and we can work together. So it sounds like you've been feeling this way for some time, but it didn't come up until I actually asked you about it, which I understand. You may not have wanted to for any number of reasons, and I'm okay with whatever those reasons are. But moving forward, what my expectation would be is that if you have a challenge or an issue or you're overwhelmed, especially if it's with me personally, that we have enough of a safe space and a trust that you can bring that to me early because I don't want it to fester and get worse over time. And then it leads to more friction. So moving forward, do you think if something like this happens again, you can bring it to my attention within that same week so we can address it right away and we can move forward together with that?
Yeah, I could try. I tried bringing this up before, but you
Okay.
kind of moved past it pretty quick. So I was like, all right, I guess it's not worth bringing up again.
Well, I'll tell you what. I will now that I'm more in tune. We've had this conversation, which I brought up. I will make sure that I take detailed notes and I'm more clear on my end. Because really, I do want to make sure that I'm listening and I'm receiving, what you're sharing. I know sometimes, um, I'm an entrepreneur. I can move very quickly sometimes. But I do want to help
Yeah.
make sure that we're moving forward together. So on my end, I will make sure I lean in more and listen to you better moving forward if you're open to making sure that you bring it up. And if you think I didn't listen, you can you can bring that up too, and help hold me
Okay.
accountable to what I've committed to you, as a leader. Is that fair?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, we'll give it a shot. That's fair.
Awesome. Well, why don't we plan on revisiting this specific conversation in a month? And we can just talk about this, that how things have improved. If we feel like things haven't changed or if things haven't gotten, things haven't gotten better or they have gotten better, what's working? Because I see you as a long-term player within this team. I really think you could do extremely well with our podcast. I think we can take this podcast on a global scale based on your background and your experience. So I think it's important we prioritize this early in our relationship so that we can succeed long term. So we revisit this in a month and just talk about what's working and what's not.
All right. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being open to having the conversation. I know it's uncomfortable sometimes, but the more we have these conversations, I think the more the easier it'll come and the more trust we're going to build. So thanks for taking the time, Chris, and being so open with me.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Also, I quit.
Well, good riddance to you. Good riddance to you. Now.
Good riddance. All right. Hey, good job handling that.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Nice. So
So
I'm
yeah, go ahead, Lucy. If I don't know if you want to share maybe any insights, I'm just happy to share some of the things that I do intentionally, but anything that you want to add in, all ears.
yeah, maybe I would give the word first to the two of you, how it was from each of your perspectives. Maybe I would start with Chris. How was it for you to receive that type of conversation?
um, no, I thought it was great. I thought it was good. I think you did a lot of because you've done this a lot. This is what I want to say. Because you've done this a lot, you know what you're going to say, and you've planned out how you're going to say it. So there's not a lot of uhs,
Yeah.
pauses, and I think there's a lot of power in that because it's demonstrating that you're in control of the conversation and yourself. If you just have a lot of ums or uhs, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Nobody's judging like somebody's speaking skills. It's really demonstrating how comfortable you are. And if you're uncomfortable, I'm not going to feel comfortable in the conversation
Yeah.
because I'm going to feel unsettled by you feeling unsettled. And so I think it's great that you knew what you were going to say, you knew how you were going to say it, and you planned it out and you were able to move through it pretty quickly and understand what's going on for me. And I appreciate that you didn't get defensive, which a lot of people do. They're like,
Yeah.
no, you misread, you misunderstood. You took it on the chin. You said, you're right. My bad. I messed up. I'll work on that. We can work on that together. I want you to hold me accountable. That was a great way you said of phrasing that. I
Yeah.
want you to hold me accountable. And I think also reminding me and framing. You did a lot of good job of
Yeah.
framing, right?
Yep.
Setting the stage for what's happening, why you're saying it, what your expectations were of me, and why you believe in me, and why you think I can do a good job, as opposed to just why did you mess up? You're a failure. Stop this. But a
Yeah.
lot of good framing, a lot of great stuff there.
Jevon, how was it for you?
Yeah. I appreciate the acknowledgement, Chris. You've done it a lot, planned it out. I'm at a point in my career where I don't even necessarily have to plan it as much because I really want to be in the moment with the person and the situation. And I'll share to the listeners that this is a really uncomfortable piece for you, right? You're a team leader. You avoid these conversations and it's not going to flow like it did for me. Because some people may hear me and go, oh my gosh, I couldn't do that. Right. Well, I've done this, I don't know, thousands of times, right? And so I can pivot and adjust. But early
Yeah.
on, the more transparent and authentic and vulnerable you are with somebody, the more trust you build.
That's right.
So it's okay to say things that I did not necessarily say, but you could say it if it's genuine. Hey, I need to have a tough conversation with you. Honestly, it's really uncomfortable for me because I don't have all of what I want to say, but your relationship is too important for me not to say something.
Mm, yep.
And if you go look at, there's a great book, Crucial Conversations. It talks about, stating mutual purpose, right? Focusing on what's the common purpose, what's the common goal. I oftentimes like to use the example of a volleyball team, two on two volleyball. If you're 2-on-2, you would never, or you shouldn't, put down the other player, right? Everything you're doing with those two players is to score points against the other team. So if I can help you feel, even though I'm coaching you or I'm giving you performance feedback, that we're on the same team, we were moving in the same direction. I don't
Hmm.
have to have my words flow so naturally and smooth for it to have weight if I'm willing to be open that it's uncomfortable for me, but that together we can do something together, right? And that we're on the same page.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah. Even
And
when you gave feedback, I think it was also another great point was it was so concrete and specific. Right? You
That's
didn't
so
say you're just
important.
disengaged. What's going on? Right? You said specifically what I was doing and what you noticed.
Yeah, that is crucial. I'll just say for me, if my wife comes to me, because listen, I've got an ego just like anybody else. I work on submitting it and getting it out of the way, and I think I do a decent job of that. But the people that you care about the most, sometimes it comes out the worst. And all she has to do is be vague. Hey, you weren't listening to me. Yes, I was. Hey, the other day I told you X, Y, and Z, and then but then you didn't do it. I
Hmm.
can't do
Yep.
you when it's a fact that it's objective. That is so crucial, and I guess that's something crucial
Yes.
for your listeners. Like, it can't be just like you said, you're disengaged. It's got to be, hey, on Tuesday, I gave you 3 ideas. You turned them down, and you didn't give any more explanation of why.
Yeah.
It does a couple things. It tells you what the standard isn't, and it starts to help set the standard of what you're expecting. But it's also you can't make it up. You can't, honestly, I probably talked too much. If you can say less, you have less room for the ego because what happens is people are listening to combat you. You can do all the things to bring down the ego. You can do all the things to bring down the defensive walls of the person you're talking to, and I think that's really important. But people are still going to potentially get defensive, especially if this is the first time you're having these conversations. My wife and I are at a point. I just keep going to my wife and Tara, where I know she's about to have a tough conversation with me, and so I just take a deep breath. Okay, all right, there's something that, and more often than not, she's right. Don't tell her I said that. She can't listen to this podcast. But more often than not, she's right, and there's something that I was missing because I was going 100 miles an hour over here. And so early on, when you haven't had this conversation with this person, it may feel extremely uncomfortable. So it's okay
Yep.
to you got to be specific and very objective and try to remove the emotion,
Yep.
your emotion out of it, and recognize that there's always two sides to every story too. So when I'm coaching people, I always let them know there's always the thing that you see happen. There's the reason that you think, and then there's the root of the reason that actually is taking place. And more often than not, your assumptions that you're making are wrong about the
Hmm.
why and the why they didn't do it, why they didn't disengage. They disengaged because they don't care, they forgot, or they're going through a divorce and they're going through a really tough time and they're just overwhelmed because they can't handle the first. Like the why is as important, if not more important, than the action. And I think that's an evolution of leadership because 20 years ago, the why didn't matter. You didn't hit your number, you didn't hit your mark, you showed up late. I don't care why.
Yeah.
I just care about performance. And in today's culture, you can't just care about performance. If you want performance, you need to care about the person. You don't have to be a life coach for them as a manager or team leader. You don't have to solve all their problems, but you do need to be aware of what they're going through so that you can push them
That's right.
right outside their comfort zone. I do think you need to do that, but it shouldn't be way up here at level 25 when they need to be at level 10. And you got to meet people where they
Hmm.
are, and you can't treat everybody the same, right? So anyway, a lot there, but that role play was fun. It was a lot of fun doing
Yeah.
it right too. So
Who's
yeah.
Radical Candor, Kim Scott, I think her name is. Yeah, she writes about that in her book is the idea you have to know like it's gonna feel like you're a therapist for a little bit, and that's just part of the job. You have to know your people in order to care about them and help them do their best.
Mm.
yeah, that's a book I need to read. I've seen some of her content online and stuff like that, but and I know Netflix subscribes to Radical Candor, for better or
Mm.
worse. But yeah, I think
Yep.
it's so important.
Yeah, I also wanted to add your body language, I noticed during the conversation.
Yeah,
As Chris was talking, you were leaning in and you were really listening. So your whole body, also your tone of voice was calm and focused. I think that's very important also because sometimes we may be stressed out or frustrated and we are trying
yeah,
to tell them with the
yes,
words, but the
yeah,
body language and the tonality is a little bit off.
yeah.
And for a lot of leaders, what would you say would be some tips when they are in that judgmental state? and they're
Totally.
frustrated that the employee is not performing or that they made a mistake. How would you suggest they shift into that state when they're able to listen?
Wow, that is a fantastic question, and I'm glad you observed some of those things and that came out because I wasn't even thinking about. For me, I was just doing it what I always do. Um, but a couple things I share this all the time, and it comes to the root of servant leadership that it's not about you, right? Usually, people get frustrated because it's whatever the result is, it's coming back on them, right? They're not hitting their numbers, their project's going to miss a deadline, and so they feel pressure from above, which I
Yep.
totally understand that. But if you make it about you, that other person is going to make it about them. And it becomes a friction point that you will not get
Mm.
past.
Hmm.
So, one of the things physically, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this on your show, is take a deep breath. Because when you take a deep breath, it physically changes your body chemistry to relax, and it slows you down and it slows your heart rate down. And so just doing that alone can help you kind of take that pause and take a step back. That's why I even mentioned earlier when my wife would say something and I knew what was coming. Take a breath. But then I say this all the time is take the eyes off yourself and realize, ask yourself this question. Is this person a bad person? Is this person doing something on purpose to bother you and annoy you? Is that what you think? Because you probably don't think that if you think about it consciously, but you're acting as if it does. And so
Hmm.
frustration happens when expectation doesn't meet reality. Expectation doesn't meet reality. So one of the thing, Jocko Willink, world famous book, Extreme Ownership. I start there. I start there. So what did I do? What could I do that could have prevented this or helped this? So in the Chris example here with the role play, and I didn't really necessarily communicate it this way, but I fell on the sword a couple times, right? Hell, hey, that's my fault. It's not always, but if we own it up front, hey, what am I seeing from Chris that maybe I could have avoided? Did I even set him up for expect? Did I give him the right expectations? Did I communicate clearly in writing form? Did I give him a project deadline? Like, did I even think about these things? So if I can start with taking an ownership first and go, what can I have done differently to solve the problem?
Yep.
We now go into solution seeking mode and we think about how can I serve and how can I help the person across the table versus I see this person as a problem. I want to see the person as a part of the solution that
Hmm.
we're in this together, right? Look at it going back to sports. If I was an outside back, I was a defender. I remember I made mistakes, along the way, right? That's always part of the journey. But I never saw myself as the problem, and I don't think the coaches ever did either. We were all on the same team. And so now frustrations still happen, especially when you've already talked about something with somebody and they still don't do it and they're not following through. You can solution seek, dive deeper all day long. But the only reason you're frustrated is because you're not doing something to move it forward or potentially exit them if you need to, if we're that frustrated and we've had those kind of conversations. So yeah, body language, tone of voice, calm, all of that makes a difference to creating the right environment to even have the right conversation. Because you can say the right things, and I can say, "Hey, I'm really happy to have you on the meeting," and but listen, you've been really messing up, right? Like it just is
Yep,
different tones. So
absolutely. I also noticed you were using a lot of the championing language throughout the
yeah.
conversation. For example, I see you as a long term player. When somebody is not used to using that kind of language, what would be a guidance for them? How they can learn to use that supportive language?
Yeah. Well, sign up for a class with me, right? No. But I think it comes from a couple things. I think that's my brand, right? Building a culture of
Hmm.
champions. People relate to that, whether you're an athlete or not. I think people like to be a part of something like winning cultures, right? There's a reason why people follow sports teams and never played sports.
Yeah.
So I think that's an element. But a couple things, I think you got to get around people that talk that way, that think that way,
Mm.
read books that you're attracted to. I've mentioned a couple, like Extreme Ownership
Yep.
is one. But the more you can listen to other people, you can kind of model that. But for now,
Mm.
think for yourself. Okay. If you're listening to this, think for yourself of an environment of something that you were really good at. It could have been the violin. It could have been Honestly, it sounds funny, but I'm not joking. Video games, right? It could be you're a machine as a chef. Like, I mean, you're the person your friends go to for advice on this topic, right? You've gotten really good at it. Bring that confidence over into your professional career and speak with that level of authority and confidence. And it's okay to be unsure of yourself in that mode. I remember when I was first, building my first team, I was super uncomfortable, but I said, you know what? I'm responsible. So I'm going to assume our team's going to win. So I'm going to speak that way. And I'm going to learn this what I call now the language of victory, and just start to speak that way. It feels a little uncomfortable at first, but eventually it becomes a part of, how you speak. And these are things that are now subconscious for me. But I've, done it a lot. So hopefully that's couple little things that
Yeah.
someone that maybe doesn't do this can take their past experiences and bring that like confidence in, to speak that victory into people. I think it is so important. And only thing I don't think I share, but I think is really powerful too, is it's the skills are important, the personal growth is important, but the core of all of it is who you are as a leader, your character, your follow through, your genuine interest in helping them. That gives so much space for grace and mistakes that you make, that people will give you the benefit of the doubt, right? If they know you genuinely are a good person, and you genuinely care. And if you're listening to this, you probably are wanting to get better. You're probably a pretty humble person if you're listening to this kind of podcast. That's my guess. And you're probably also very driven and you're very motivated. It's okay not to be good at this. It's okay. And so if you just start there, wherever you are, and then start doing it, it'll become like muscle memory, just like practicing a sport, just like practicing an instrument, just like dating, just like marriage, just like, all the things. And so just know that it's okay to be bad, and it's okay to actually share that you're not good at it until you do get good at it. But also know that you can make a big difference in your relationships and in your teams, if you're willing to do this. Because what's happening right now is if you're not having these kind of conversations, your team's disengaged. They're already thinking about going somewhere else. They're looking for leaders. People are looking to be led, period. Every single person is looking to be led. Even the top people that you learn from on podcasts, the top authors, they all have people they look for. And if you're not going to become that person, they're going to look for it somewhere else. That's just the reality. So you can embrace it and lean into it, or you can let people keep disengaging.
Love that. And I learned recently that mistakes aren't failures unless you don't learn from them.
It's a good one.
So, Jevon, let's assume for some reason somebody skipped all of part 1 of this episode, came to this episode, fast forwarded to just this exact moment. What are 1 to 2 big takeaways you would have for them if they didn't hear anything else from this episode?
So for me, thinking from a team leader perspective, the number one most important thing is setting a plan for your own personal growth. Set a plan for your own personal growth. They're not just, I read sometimes. No, what are you reading? When are you reading? What podcast are you listening to? What are you working on right now? Who are you learning from? That's a huge one. Who are you learning from? Who's in your corner, right? Whether it's paid service or otherwise, but like if you don't have someone right now that you, as a team leader, especially, that is a leader above you, I don't mean hierarchy, but that's someone that's further down the road from you, that you could pick up the phone right now and call them for their perspective. If you have it inside your company, fantastic. But if you don't have that, there's a huge gap in your learning curve, because you can only get so much from a book, you can only get so much from a podcast, you can only get so much from listening and binging information. At some point, you need somebody to kind of lean in and go, oh, based on your situation, here's some things to consider. Here's a book you should read right now. Here's a podcast you should listen to right now. So that personal growth aspect is crucial. And in my experience, I've worked with so many managing directors, C-suite, that do not do that. And then they wonder why. They have performance issues and team issues and morale issues and disengagement issues. And they think that just showing up for the corporate training once a year, and showing up to and listening to a podcast here and there is enough. It's not. It is a big commitment. Should be, if you're going to be responsible for people. And so personal growth is crucial.
Love it. And let's say they're like, you know what? I want to learn from Jevon. I want myself, I want my team, I want everybody in my world to learn from Jevon. How can they learn more? How can they reach out to you and find you?
Yeah, appreciate the question. So if you know the spelling of my name, I'm pretty Googleable. My name is SEO friendly with Jevon Gondwe. But my website, www.influentialskills.com, has a lot of my background on, my perspectives, leadership frameworks, all that great stuff. And I do content on LinkedIn as well. So LinkedIn is a great place to follow me for content. And I do a lot of leadership transformation, right? Coaching, workshops, working with organizations over the course of 3 to 6 months. Because I'm not just on one off. It's about transforming behaviors and transforming identities. Atomic Habits is a great book for that, but transforming identities so we become a better version of ourselves. And that's the core of what I do for individuals and for organizations is that transformation over time. So
Love it. Jevon, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. It was really a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you,
absolutely.
Jevon.
This was fantastic. I look forward to collaborating with you guys in the future and sharing your podcast more as well. This was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jevon.
Thank you. And if you want to learn more about Jevon, all that stuff he talked about, we're going to put it in the show notes so you can follow us. If you want to learn more about any difficult conversation courses that I'm running, especially the live 5-day sprint that I've got going on in this fall, you can reach out to me, get the information in the show notes. And Lucy,
If you are struggling staying calm in that difficult conversations, reach out to me. We can do a saboteur assessment and seeing what's getting in the way and how to address that.
awesome. Well, thank you everybody for being here. We will see you next week for another episode of our podcast.